Okay, so thank you for coming to our meeting. Today we're going to go over some mentor feedback on our designs, as well as go over some criticism and what to do. So before anything, did anyone come up with any more designs or any new designs? Masaharu, I saw yours. I got Ethan's. I got Jaiho's, and I got Masaharu's, and I got Michael's. Okay. So just quickly going over some feedback. Let me share my screen with you so you guys could have a little bit easier of an understanding. I'll just pick on Ethan today, or actually, Junso, let me pick on you. A lot of you guys' ideas are kind of similar. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna like kind of group you up together and go over some general feedback our mentor gave us. Can people see my screen?
Yep, we can.
Okay, so this one is what Junso did. I know you guys, the ideas you guys gave me aren't exactly the same, but I know they're quite similar. So I'm just using this as a model, okay? So first of all, general doctor feedback with something like an exoskeleton to fit in your hand. First of all, doctors said people who have hemiplegia, they're most likely completely, completely paralyzed. So complete paralysis, meaning like they can't move their hand at all. So tension force can help patients move their fingers upwards, but then it can't really move it inwards. You know what I mean? And I know Jaiho had an idea about putting motors. Doctors, not doctors. Our mentor cautioned against using exoskeleton for each finger. Not only is that really hard to actually use for these patients, especially because we're trying to make a device for them to use at home. Technically you have to start thinking this like a little bit more realistically. It'd be like almost like a very thick ring. If you have like a guard that covers your entire finger, think of it as a really thick ring that covers your entire finger. When you have things like those here, like these pictures, technically you could say this is a very thick ring. If you have things like those things, they don't have rotational stability, as in it could easily twist and turn. You guys might ask, what's the problem with that? Well, he specifically said that since these people don't have any power in their hands, you want to make their movement through the device as solid as possible, because once you have a lot of leeway and maneuverability, then the finger might, maybe they'll do a motion that's a little too hard for them, or maybe the device will perform actions a little bit too uncontrollable for them. So you want to make finger movement through device as rigid as possible. Do people understand this concept? Anyone needs like clarification? Okay. I'm going to clarify it anyways, just for people watching this video after the meeting. What I'm basically trying to say is, if you have a hinge joint, so think about just a regular hinge joint. It's literally just fold and unfold. That's just a hinge joint, right? But then when you make devices complicated and fit towards the finger, remember that the finger isn't just a hinge joint, but it's also a ball joint. You guys maybe don't know, but then the finger is a very complicated build. There's a lot of ball joints to it because, just your index finger alone, it could also move a little bit, it has leeway in it. And the device should try to avoid that leeway, because if I just wear a glove, my finger can still move that 360 degrees. You don't want that, because that could get a little bit unpredictable, especially with like tension forces and motors. The patient, let's just say that the patient has trouble actually moving their fingers sideways like this. Like they might, they should probably not bend their fingers like this. Well, if you have a glove, things like that could be a little bit unpredictable. So that's one of our concerns our mentors should. Everyone fine with this concept?
Yep.
Okay. So just keep that in mind. Oh, and second, actually using this device. Um, I I want to use my words carefully. I don't want to easily put out words that maybe seem offensive, but a lot of these people have a physical disability. Let's just put it like that. Physical disability is something, of course, very cumbersome in life, daily tasks. If we have it something where it's a wearable exoskeleton, they might have difficulty actually trying to put on the device. So they may have difficulty actually in like slotting in every fingers because let's say this my left hand is a glove and my right hand is actual fingers. Let's say the fingers were spread this way, but then the glove was only stretched this way. Then they'll have difficulty putting it right. For us, we have both hands, so we can easily, and since we have control over hands, we can easily, you know, put on a glove. But for them, doctors, our mentors showed that, it's a little hard for them, or they might have difficulty with it. So just keep that in mind. And third, our mentors love that you guys are like really like going forwards with the whole exoskeleton idea where you can have rehab and exoskeleton at the same time. But then the doctor said that, while our ambition is admirable, we should try to narrow down on one thing so that we can focus on that thing first. And he specifically recommended us rehab because if you guys think about it, the human body, there's so many joints, so many contractions. It's really hard to make the exoskeleton. Even like cutting edge prosthetics can never compare up to the designs of a real human hand. So since we don't want to work with that just yet, maybe this could be something, our project for next year. Let's focus on this year's project on rehabilitation. One specific advice our mentor gave us was try to bunch up the fingers. So instead of having a device that individually folds every finger, try to have one mechanism where all four fingers fold at once. And the doctor said there shouldn't be much difference between folding each individual fingers and folding four fingers at once. Is that concept clear to all of you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah. Also, one thing. The doctor said that so J-Hope, your idea was interesting, and so is Ethan's. Ethan isn't here today, so I'll just elaborate for him. J-Ho's idea was having motors for each hand, and Ethan was having a tight tension rope or like a steel string embedded so that you can release and fold at the same time. One concern doctors showed that was weight. And well, he specifically said stationing. To clarify, he was trying to say how, like, where could like the patient actually use it? So like, can he just put it on a table and use it, or does he have to like put it somewhere? So this goes back to our original classification between stationary and portable rehabilitation devices. He said that, the motors on the hand, that could be really heavy and that could also cause damage because remember, a lot of your guys' ideas focus on hemiplegia and spasticity of the fingers, but a lot of these people, I think he said around 60 to 80%, that they'll also have spasticity of the wrist too, and the entire hand. So you can't just rely on the fact that their fingers have spasticity of the fingers, but then they don't have spasticity of the wrist. You want to make sure that the device, so that even people with spasticity of the wrist can use the device, so that it's a little bit more universal, so that testing may be a little bit easier because if we make a device for a very, very, very specific symptom, it may be a little hard to find someone to test it and get some feedback. So that's just one thing he also recommended. Oh, and okay, so that's the general feedback for the designs we came up. Does anyone else have any questions or clarifications needed? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Uh, One other mentor suggested that instead of working in two separate designs, we work on many components of one design. And he specifically pointed at the sketches I gave you, I should probably say the one Jake is going to handle from now on. He specifically said that it's a good idea, but then it needs fine tuning. And that fine tuning can't be just done by one group specifically. So what I was planning to do is now that we have a very, very, very basic design, the designs on the sketch, they're literally just poles. So there could be a lot of improvements. What I'm going to do is probably separate the group into two groups again, but not on separate designs. On the same design, I'm probably going to have one for spasticity of the fingers and one for the spasticity of the wrist. Is that clear with everyone?
Yes.
So we're gonna combine the components.
Yeah.
Later? Okay.
So we'll still have two groups, but then what we're going to do is trying to implement you guys' ideas on the fingers into the design where I made for the wrist. So it's both fingers and wrist in one device. And trying to simplify it, reduce weight, just fine tuning stuff, but then in two groups. Did everyone understood that? Any clarification? Okay. So this brings us down to what we'll actually do from now on. Here, let's see. I've seen you guys' leadership applications. A lot of you guys applied, which is very good. I'll call a few people later throughout the day and ask little questions. I don't want to do like the things openly out in the group, but I really want to separate this into a group effort. So like not just one guy leading and doing everything. I really want to have those two groups set up. Is there anyone who wanted to apply for leadership but couldn't fill out the form? Okay, cool. Just to let you know, our club's finally going to like start moving forwards. I hope all of you guys are ready to embrace it, especially the two group leaders I'm going to pick. Of course, there's going to be more leaders in the group. Like I know that club's mandatory to have a treasurer, or I think something like that. So I'll make sure to fill those in later. But then there's going to be essentially two actual group leaders that are going to advance the idea. Once I pick those two leaders, which is I can guarantee you that I'll pick those two leaders by this week or next week. I'll guarantee that there are at least two group leaders. I'll fill in the rest of the leadership after that. Once we have those two leaders, you guys are going to have to actually tackle the designing and the itty-gritty little stuff. Okay, how about this? Instead of saying that, do any of you guys know how to use GrabCAD? Or CADing?
Use what again?
CADing? CAD. Like what we
I couldn't learned it before.
Okay, it's just very basic CADing. I'm not gonna make you download like
I can do some basic CADing, nothing like good,
Yeah.
but I can get like a little bit of it.
Yeah, see that's perfect. Yeah, I'm not gonna have you guys download motor files and like very specific parts of the internet. I'm just trying to get like very general designs just so that we could use it as a view of are we actually progressing. So like if we do have a design, and here's the thing, especially for our mentors and people who will be helping us build the actual physical medical device, it's kind of hard for me to give them general ideas, even if it's very rudimentary, very basic. Models, 3D models can help them so much. So I want to like cooperate between both the clubs and the mentors trying to help us build it. So just know that. Now, if I'm going to make an announcement after this, and I'm going to post some videos about CAD and what you can do about CAD, I'll of course, but then here, guys, don't worry about this now. I'm just telling you guys future plans, just so that you guys aren't caught by surprise when I bring up CADing later. Around this week and next week, I'm actually going to decide the two group leaders and then actually start on separating you guys into two groups. But remember, there's only still one design we're going to work on. It's one design, but two parts of it. And then after that, I'm going to basically have you guys learn just a little bit of CADing. It's very basic. It's a really simple and easy program to use. Our school does it for engineering classes, so it's a reliable program. And here's the thing, I'll accurately decide if we need another meeting, like in 2 weeks or so, just for CADing. I'm willing to do that. For people who made this to the meeting and who's gonna see the announcement later, do try to look up on CAD. I'm not gonna tell you need to spend at least like 2 hours mastering all the physics engine no. I just want you to look up like intro to CADing, and that's literally it. Watch like a 10-minute video if you have time. If you don't have time, that's perfectly fine too. But then just do know that there's going to be a time where we'll actually have to model things, reach an actual design, and then start prototyping, because that's what our mentors want the most, is prototyping and testing. And because that's the best way of learning and deciding if our device is working as it should. Now, those are just some future plans. Let me tell you guys very specifically what's going to happen next. Here, I think it's best to actually show you guys the designs. Let me pull up the sketches so you guys can understand a little bit better. Okay, can everyone see the sketches I do?
Check.
Okay, so last time when I discussed this model, I said that this was going to be stationary, and these two poles A and B, that's what's going to actually fold and unfold. Now, remember guys, the poles are very, very basic design. It could be something they could wear, something they could plug into, maybe something that clamps on. It could be anything. I'm going to have people design A and B. That's one group. Second group is going to focus on this giant panel thing. Now, it could be a giant panel, or maybe it doesn't have to. That's the wrist, this specific part. So I'm drawing a line between this here. Got it? Everyone cool with that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I'm going to decide 2 people to go with this idea. Maybe I'll do 4 leaders, so there'll be 2 for each group. I'll figure that out later. But do know that we're going to stem off from this basic design. Now, comments on this design by some of our mentors. They said that the stationary, the stationary device where they could just put this in a table is a little bit more reliable than exoskeleton because, as I said, it's harder for them to wear. And the doctors did like this idea, but they did want us. See, the reason why one of our mentors wanted to separate us into 2 groups is because he said, it's a great idea, but how would the device close the patient's hands reliably? So if there's 2 poles, we discussed that it could easily open, right? But then maybe we want to go one step forward and make the actual device close your hand too. Now, as I said in the last meeting, there's many ways this could be done. Maybe a 3rd pole, maybe a 3rd point of clamping the fingers together. That's up to one of the groups. Now, for spasticity of the wrist, the doctors specifically wanted so that it's not like an abrupt action. So how, of course, the wrist also has a joint, ball joint in there, basically, to say in mechanical terms. So the wrist can bend in a lot of ways, but we're going to focus on one team that focuses on the hand, but the wrist team, specifically the wrist team, is going to focus on this movement, okay? Now, Remember that your wrist can bend a little bit backwards too. So keep that in mind, okay? So that's our general gist. Today's not like some specific conclusions. We're not drawing any accurate conclusions. I'm just trying to tell you guys what we're going to do moving forward. Is there anyone who have questions about either this design or what we're going to do forwards from now on? Alrighty. So that's it for today. If none of you guys have any questions, you're free to go. Thank you for making it to the meeting.